how to map. So we have all these use cases, all these ways of applying AI and different ways. And to give you a bit of a framework, that I have in my head of how to categorize the different use cases before I then talk about the use cases a bit, and particularly categorize it in the revenue space, right? So I think there's 3 dimensions, 3 lenses, 3 categories to look at. One is data, one is timing, if you will, or how it's going to interact with the world. And then there's the goal. So data in the revenue space, we really have 3 levels, right? We have the transaction level. So think fraud detection. So we're looking at individual transaction. We're trying to predict, is this transaction fraudulent? Yes, no. We have the subscription level. So is this customer likely to churn? Yes, no. So that's all the information we have about a particular subscription or customer, right? And then we have the aggregate metrics level. So what is MRR likely to be like next month, right? This is an aggregation all the way up. And I think it's important for us to think about which one of those levels are we at when we talk about a use case, right? It sort of gives us a good framework. The next one is timing, or how does it interact with the world, right? So real-time response, that is where, think ChatGPT, you're giving it a reply. The user initiates the action in ChatGPT by asking a question, it replies immediately. Fraud detection is the same. Like the user comes onto a website, execute a transaction. At that point in time, you need to reply immediately. Is this transaction approved or not approved, right? So that we have a fraud detection check. It needs to be real time. It isn't the fraud detection method or model is not taking initiative. It is just responding to someone taking initiative. That is very different from, let's say, we do churn analysis, where we're trying to understand which customers are likely to churn in the next month. We are taking the action. We can do that. Probably not in real time, maybe on a daily basis, maybe on a weekly basis. We can do it Sunday night. It doesn't matter, right? So it's a very different cadence. And this might seem like a detail, but it really matters as to how we model things, what we can model, how we set up the data infrastructure, how we set up the entire infrastructure of the modeling side. So there's a lot of considerations that comes with that. And I think it's also a nice way of categorizing a lot of the use cases. Real time, almost always very difficult. Well, not difficult, much more difficult. The easiest place to start is non-real time. And then finally, the goal. Like, what are you trying to achieve here? Are you trying to predict future outcomes? Or are you trying to understand what has happened? Are you trying to predict something unknown? Like, is this fraudulent or not fraudulent? Is this customer likely to churn the next month or not? Or are you trying to understand the pattern? Like, what are the leading indicators of churn? Like, that is understanding a pattern that's happened. Sort of insights against prediction, really. So I think those are 3 very nice ways of viewing the world. So now let me just map out some of the cases we're seeing in revenue management, subscriptions, and payments. Mapped against these dimensions. So I put light blue to be transaction level data, green to be subscription level, and dark blue to be metrics level. So in the top sort of real-time prediction part, we see all of these payment use cases: fraud detection, smart routing, smart retries, dynamic checkouts, dynamic cancellations as well. This happened more subscription level. So anything where the user is initiating something and we're responding immediately. Then in the other top right, so this is predictions, but more insights, not real time. We see things like churn prediction, LTV forecasting, right? So this is, we're trying to predict something unseen, which customers likely to churn, what is the predicted LTV of customers next month, et cetera, et cetera. But but we're not doing it in real time. And then down in the bottom right, we have the sort of more insights questions, metric analysis. So churn rose in France last month by 2%. Why? Like, what were the drivers of that? What are the leading indicators of churn we should be looking at? Are they changing over time, et cetera, et cetera? Customer segmentation is another classic insight analysis we do, or price optimization. If we change the price, move the price by 5% on this particular plan, how would that affect our top line metrics? Like, we're trying to optimize pricing. Again, it's an insight exercise. It's not necessarily a prediction as much as an insight we're trying to get out of it, and it's not happening in real time. It's happening whenever we want to. So some of that, you might think of a lot of other use cases. I think this covers a lot of them currently that we can think of in the revenue space.